Thanks, Fred. Hi, guys.
Hi.
I went to Guatemala, and it was awesome. It was really, really fun. And this week, as I was trying to get all my thoughts together, I realized 10 minutes is not a lot of time. So talk to me afterwards, because there's so much that I want to share. But I wanted to tell you a couple things. The first one, I wanted to tell you everything that our group did down there. Everything that we accomplished was awesome. I want to tell you all about it. But I also want to tell you how the trip impacted me personally. And they're both really important. And so I want to fit it all in. So if it feels like I'm rushing, it's because I am. So this is where Guatemala is. Surprise, surprise. This is the airline map. We took Copa Airlines down to Guatemala. You see how kind of they're centered in Panama City. So the hub, we actually had to fly down to Panama City and then get a connecting flight up to Guatemala. Or so we thought. The airline went on strike the night we were about to get our connecting flight. So we're in the airport and we learned this and we're like, yikes, that's okay. So we had an emergency overnight in Panama City, and that was kind of our first problem. One day of work, I was just working with my dad. You could look at a job, you're like, okay, we got 2 guys. Okay, we can do this much in this many hours, so it's going to take probably this many days. All right, and then you kind of have your plan, and you kind of go for it. I started to do that with Guatemala. I was like, okay, we got big projects that we want to go down there, we want to do. I just started doing the math. We got 12 people, and they just missed a day of work because of this, strike thing. My goodness, it's 8 hours a day for each person, 12 times a day. That's like 96 man hours that we just lost. Yikes. That's a lot. So I started feeling that. I started feeling that pressure, like, okay, let's go. We got to step it up. Come on. But that was something huge that just one of the group guys said. He was just like, guys, we just got to roll with it, And that's so true. Is we didn't go to Guatemala to follow the plan, do the plan. That's not what we went to Guatemala for. We went to Guatemala to follow Jesus and just serve Jesus. And that's what's important, Life happens and things change, but Jesus doesn't. Jesus stays the same. So that was cool. The whole week, really getting that eternal perspective. It's really easy to kind of get that worldly plan, performance perspective. But as a missionary, having an eternal perspective, that no matter what's happening in all the chaos, Jesus is staying the same. I would say that's probably one of the most valuable things that a missionary can have. One of the most valuable skills that a missionary can have is to have that eternal perspective. One of the interns down there, his name was Andrew. He's a 19-year-old intern. He was in Guatemala for a month. And I met him the first day. He was like, Steve, in Guatemala, if you're going to be a missionary here, you got to be fat. I was like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, yeah, you got to be fat. Flexible, adaptable, teachable. You got to be a fat missionary. And I was like, oh, okay. But guys, I want to be a fat missionary. That's something that I want to be. This is our group leader, Michael and Daryl, and they were just the epitome of flexible, adaptable, and teachable. They are so just awesome. And especially in a third world country, just life there, the atmosphere, the flow, it's all unplanned. It's really impromptu. It's a lot more relaxed than here. So having that perspective going into a mission trip is really vital. Watching these two, working with them, seeing how they acted, how they reacted to situations, how they carried themselves, it was really, really neat to see. So I mentioned the 2 big projects that we were going down. The first one, our goal was to build a retaining wall for this woman named Apollonia and her family. She lives on the side of this hill and just has just a bunch of earth just running off actually into her house. And it was causing a whole bunch of problems. So our goal was to build this retaining wall that contained that hill so that she can have a house. The second thing we wanted to do was build 8 beds into 4 sets of bunk beds for the servant ministry headquarters house that we were staying in. The goal for that was so that they can expand their capacity and they can have more groups come, bigger groups, and then hopefully that could mean that they could do bigger projects or potentially more projects at the same time. So those were our 2 really big goals that we had going in. But the main goal, like I said before, with that eternal perspective is we're going to just serve Jesus no matter how much we get done. So that was really cool. So I realized something. You got building a retaining wall, you got building bunk beds. It's all construction, it's building. That just hit me once again. Construction skills as a missionary is so valuable. Having that skill set and just being, having the ability to use your hands is just something that's so valuable when you're a missionary. And that hit me because the environment I'm in right now, working for my dad in the construction environment, I'm learning those skills. I'm gaining that experience that is going to be so valuable when I go into the mission field. And so that was really cool, because as I was working there, I was like, God's preparing me right now in the environment I'm in right now to go out into the field later. And so that's just a little thing that I saw that was really, really cool. Just to be able to make an impact on the mission field right now. So I wanted to take a moment and just show you just how cute Casey and Esther's kids are. They are like, all week, I was just amazed at how cute these kids are. They're just so amazing. Yes. And this picture really, it sums up the relaxed atmosphere that we were in. I was talking about that earlier. You know, things are going to get done in Guatemala, but it might not be the way that you would do it. It might not be the most conventional way, but I mean, they get it done. And so the ladder wasn't tall enough for what they were doing, so one guy just kind of stands there holding it. I just took a quick picture of that because that was great. So we made bunk beds, and that was the big project. We all rallied really hard, a lot of cutting, a lot of work, and a lot of drilling, a whole bunch of cuteness. And then we started assembling them all. And we got it all done. We worked really, really well as a team. And it was just really cool to see how everything came together. So that was our first project, being able to make those bunk beds. And we did it. We got it all done. Even with all that pressure and time constraint, when you just follow Jesus, it all kind of works out. So this was our second big thing. We were going to be making this retaining wall. All of these cinder blocks were delivered at the bottom of this hill. We had to carry them all up. So we stacked them all up on the side of this hill. And then from the hill looking towards the house, that's Apollonia's house. And you can really just see all of that erosion. And so this is us digging. We were digging a trench there so that we can really get deep enough for the foundation of this wall. And this is just more of us just setting. And it took a lot of time actually setting up everything so that we can build. And you really have to have a really good foundation. And that's kind of biblical, that when your foundation is solid, everything's going to work. This is Freddie. Freddie is awesome. He's the mason that we were helping out down there. He's also the elder at Apollonia's church. And he kind of reminded me of my dad, actually, because he would work so hard. He was so focused on working, and he just got so much stuff done, but he was very work-focused. And he wouldn't eat lunch unless you told him to. So it was like, yikes. How much? But it was really encouraging to see the work ethic of that. And so I just saw my dad in that, and it was just such a blessing being able to work with him. The next picture really sums up Guatemala again. I don't know if you guys know what a chalk line is, but in construction, you get this piece of string. It has a bunch of chalk dust on it. You tie it tight between 2 points, and then you snap the middle, and it goes poof. And all the chalk just gets popped onto whatever surface you have, and you have a really nice straight line, and then you can work off of it. In Guatemala, Freddie just takes this little bag of chalk, cuts off the corner, and just starts throwing stuff on the ground, and that's the Guatemalan chalk line. I was just looking at it, I was like, that's so different. That's not how we do it here. And this is another thing. I thought this was so cool. They used a tube, and they filled it with water, and they held it level on one side. The water levels itself out, and you're able to determine level between 2 points by a tube and water. And that's like how they determine level in Guatemala. And I'm looking at that, I'm just like, that's wild. That's really cool. Okay, I wanted to tell this story real quick. So the perspective is we're in Apollonia's house working, looking out across that little path at the neighbor's house. If you look closely, on their roof, they have a chicken coop on their roof. And we're just like, wow, they've got a chicken coop on their roof. That's so cool. And so as we're working, all of a sudden, there's a chicken wandering around on the ground. We're like, oh no, it fell off the roof. And Daryl must not have been privy to the first part of the conversation, the chicken coop part. And so he was like, really? There's a chicken? Oh, it fell off the roof. Really? So he captures this chicken and throws it up on somebody's roof. And then we all find out, we're like, oh my goodness. And we look up, this chicken's 15 feet in the air just staring at us. And it's the funniest thing, I can't ever forget it. It's just like, how did I get up here? And it was just so funny. But we did it, you guys. We built the wall, we mixed all the concrete, and all of a sudden the wall went up really quick. it was amazing. It just happened in it was a bunch of days really setting up the foundation, and then it just flew up. That was really cool to see. We all worked really hard, and we accomplished it. And we were really tired. Everybody was a hard worker. But we were also just really, really blessed that we were able to bless Apollonia and her family with those projects there. My 10 minutes is winding down, but that was everything that our group did that was awesome. I also wanted to share really quickly some things that impacted me personally on the trip. One of the highlights of the trip was hanging out with Casey. I was able to just hang out with him some key moments throughout the trip and see kind of a snapshot of what a missionary's life looks like. And it kept hitting me throughout the week. I was like, man, they live here. And yeah, of course they live here, does Steve? But it hit me more because this in many ways, because I want to be a missionary, this is what my life's going to start to look like. It made me really excited to see a glimpse of what that's going to look like. And just before we left, as I was dwelling and thinking about that, I was like, how is God going to use Steven Anderson on the mission field? Casey mentioned to me just how eventful life is on a short-term trip and how there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of coordination. You got these big projects going on. But he also said that it would be a great idea for me if I really wanted to get more knowledge, more understanding of a missionary's lifestyle outside of that environment. Really to get a better picture of a missionary's life in the trenches day by day over a longer period of time, going out and living it, getting the daily life of a missionary. He said that was something that he thought would be really, really good for me to experience. And when he said that, I just knew that, yeah, that's it. That's the next step. I knew that that's something that I really wanted to experience and get more on a deeper level. I just remember thinking when he said that, I was like, yeah, I want more of that. I want more of this. And guys, 2 weeks ago, an opportunity opened up for me to be able to shadow a missionary couple in Africa. They live in the middle of Kenya, hours from civilization, and I was just able to get in contact with them and talk with them last week. And I just started to learn how they minister to a tribe there and what their life looks like. And the whole time I was just thinking, dude, this is what Casey was talking about. This is seeing what they like, how they live as a missionary. And so this missions opportunity in Guatemala and getting a glimpse of what missions life will be like, I just see God opening up doors and preparing me and just getting me ready for the mission field. And I see it. It's so exciting. Just God's hand on my life just directing me and guiding me. I wanted to close with Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. So it's just so exciting following God's path for my life. It's so much better than the path I could ever make for myself. I wanted to say thank you to Casey and Esther because I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the impact that God used you guys to have on my life. And I also wanted to thank my church family for the support that we lend to the Smiths and their awesome ministry in Guatemala. You're going to hear about it in a little bit. And just thank you all for the opportunity you gave me to go down there and to serve with them. God has used Mount Bethel to just play an instrumental role in my walk with him. So thank you guys for being the body of Christ. Amen.